Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. I'm Task Force Bourbon. Today we're going to be doing a blind flight between your regular Buffalo Trace bourbon versus a single barrel offering. And as you can see, this one is a little more special than just your average single barrel in the sense that it was hand selected by Buffalo Trace's own master distiller, Harlan Wheatley. As you'll know by the shirt, I am a Buffalo Trace fan, as is most of the bourbon community nowadays. But before I begin, we'll do a little bit of a background on Buffalo Trace and Harlan Wheatley, just really quick. This is going to be a quick video today. So the single barrel program is something that's offered across a lot of different distilleries. It's a bit contentious now. There's Kentucky law that's disputing whether or not the single barrel program should be allowed to continue, as the law currently states that distillers are only supposed to be offering a very small sample size to visitors, and that obviously challenges the single barrel selection process program, which involves mostly personnel coming up to sample it on their with a team of Buffalo Trace staff in this case to help them sample along. So that would challenge that. That's going to be probably rewritten at some point, so I wouldn't fear for the single barrel or private selection programs writ large, but that is something that's trending in the community anyways. Now with something like a Master Distiller Select, really it's at their discretion. They could do this as a special one-off release, or if you're unable to make this trip to the distillery, you could decide to have the Master Distiller select it for you. And so that's probably what's happened in a case of like Buffalo Trace's flagship bourbon. But ultimately we don't know, because unlike some private select programs, there'll be a lot of different stickers on them that'll have something special and unique that says this was picked by XYZ liquor store or private group, etc., etc. In the case of all Buffalo Trace products, they use a very small medallion, what they call a medallion, usually in the color of bronze or silver. And in this case, all it says is single barrel, hand selected by Harlan Wheatley, Master Distiller, limited edition select. That's it. So not a lot of information to tell us, right? And there's nothing else different on this bottle than the other one. What we know about the other one is it's from their mash bill number 1, which is known to be a low rye mash bill. It's undisclosed, but it's speculated to be less than or at 10% rye. So that's a pretty low rye mash bill comparative to their mash bill 2, which is a high rye mash bill, estimated to be anywhere up between 12 to 15% rye. This is what would be called in the community a large batch bourbon. Again, another contentious subject, because the TTB, the Tax Trade Bureau, who defines all the laws and regulations behind bourbon, whiskey, and really distilled spirits writ large, has not defined even as something as simple as a single barrel. But reputable distilleries, it would be incumbent upon them to be truthful and transparent in their marketing, and so mostly we can presume that a single barrel means one singular barrel, compared to something a large batch versus a small batch, which would be dependent upon the size of the distillery. So a small batch to craft micro distiller might be 10 to 20 barrels, whereas something like Jim Beam Buffalo Trace, that might be like 200 barrels. However, what we do believe this product to be is somewhere about 40 barrels mixed together, right? And a little bit behind that as well is according to their website, that they select this from the middle floors of various warehouses where it experiences the most temperature changes. And that's going to help them get that consistent flavor profile for what's their flagship bourbon. And then we go to that single barrel select. So however it was selected by the master distiller, Harlan Wheatley. So who is Harlan Wheatley? He is the current master distiller of Buffalo Trace, and it has been since 2005. He's really responsible for all distilling and aging operations for the Sazerac Company, while promoting and educating public on some of the world's finest bourbon whiskeys, right? So that's from their website. And it goes on to say that he's been a supervisor since 1995. This product, the Buffalo Trace flagship product, didn't come out on on the line until 1999, so that means he was on board when we saw the first thing. Now, this is a non-age stated bourbon, but we speculated somewhere between 6 to 9 years, with probably more of an emphasis on this 7 and 8 sort of side of the house. But so I'm not good at math. I'm definitely not doing any public math, but you figure it out. He was probably involved with this since its inception, and has been involved with pretty much every major Buffalo Trace bourbon that we see on the market today. So without further ado, I've gone ahead and poured or have had poured for me these two bourbons in a blind flight, and we'll pull them out now. I'm just going to set these aside here. I'll pull out. I have them written underneath the name cards. Hopefully they're not in order, but we'll find that out in a moment. So the goal today isn't to necessarily get a bunch of tasting notes, it's to find out which was better. But I'll probably get a little bit of tasting notes out as we go along. But we'll start with the first one. Cheers. I'm getting a lot of familiar Buffalo Trace sort of nose. Some honeys, some vanilla, some cinnamons. A lot of cinnamon on the tongue, but this actually has a lot of oak kind of going on in it too. Cinnamon, oak, vanilla. Yeah, this doesn't taste like the 90 proof bourbon, so I don't want to call it before I know it, but I mean, I've drinking a lot of Buffalo Trace, so this tastes a little bit different, but it tastes like it, but dialed up. Now, the unfortunate thing for Buffalo Trace products, most Buffalo Trace products, is they're all chill filtered. That's the sad truth. There's rumor that some select single barrels, so some of their brands are allowed to be, like we know OWA Weller is allowed to be selected when it's private select as a non-chill filtered offering. And I've heard rumor that this is true for the Buffalo Trace flagship as well, but that's just rumor to my knowledge. So if you know, let me know. So you actually get some caramels, which makes sense for the age that we speculated to be. Usually the caramels don't come in until somewhere, a little after 4 years. Like the 6-year mark, the 8-year mark, you start seeing the caramels really start to stand out. Or, the higher proof stuff too. The finish, I'm going to skip the mid because the finish really stands out to me on this one. It's like a lot of honey. I was going to say honey, but it's not just like your average run-of-the-mill kind of thin honey. It's a very hearty honey, and it has some hearty tobacco too, because when I say tobacco, sometimes I get like this picture of like, the fields where tobacco leaves are grown. It's, sun, and where it's dried out, and it's, got the nice tobacco flavors, but, it also, in the mind kind of imparts this vision of something that may be a little bit warmer in taste, maybe a bit lighter. This is a medium body type expression for sure. I'm going to pause here before I end up doing a tasting on this whole thing, but there's something sweet there I've yet to dig out, but I'll go ahead and come back to it in a minute. I'll take a quick sip of water. All right, so single barrel versus standard, flagship Buffalo Trace. We're going to find out which one's which here in just a second. This is lighter bodied, easy day. It goes from oak heavy. It tastes like it's like 107, maybe 100 proof. That's over 100 proof. It tastes over 100 proof. And they both say 90 proof on it. Remember, Buffalo Trace doesn't offer a whole lot in terms of information on their single barrel. This one right here. There it is. Labeling. But this one on the right, the glass number 2, it's definitely a bit lighter than the glass on the left. So I think I know which is which, unfortunately. Hopefully it doesn't negate the findings. I'm going to try to remove my biases if because I don't know. So, but it's definitely lighter. But it actually has maybe a better balance. So while it's a bit lighter, it does have a better balance on that one. That one definitely is a little bit out of balance, but not in a bad way. It's just the balance it's more refined, kind of, if you will. Again, we're talking flagship bourbon here, so I'm not talking about anything from their Buffalo Trace Antique Collection line. So give me a break. But for where this sits, in the quality in the market, this is actually a pretty decent, pour. But yeah, Buffalo Trace has a lot of classic vanilla flavors with this cool cinnamon, especially like their Blantons, which I think that's comes from the rye for them. It gets a lot more cinnamon flavors, but it's still present here. I don't know, maybe that's something unique to Frankfort, Kentucky, where the distillery is, or maybe something in their mash bill. But I think it's pretty prominent in the Buffalo Trace's arsenal. They both kind of have a little bit of brown sugar. This one's more of that sweet, sugary kind of deal. Not as much of the oak, though. This is the hardest part because it honestly they don't taste alike. Let me move these back maybe like this or whatever, right? So it's almost not fair. When I do a blind flight, the idea is to have maybe all wheaters around 90 to 100 proof, or all bottle and bonds, which are all generally around the same age too, because bottle and bonds can be higher in age. So the idea would be to have something consistent so you can see who would win out. Whereas this, you might think that would be true. They look identical, right? And really the only thing that separates is the master distiller picked this one out. However, big comma, they don't taste like it. They don't taste like if I did a true blind flight, I would never have picked out, one from the other. I think I can pick out which one's actual Buffalo Trace because I've had it so many times, and they're really good at keeping their brand consistent. But Glass One, whereas I think this is the Buffalo Trace's Master Distiller Select, is that it tastes much higher in proof. And this one's got some marshmallow too. That's really fun. And then it goes heavy oak again. You got that cool tobacco on the end. Which this one doesn't have anything of that. But it's more balanced. So which is better? Last sip, and we're going to find the reveal. Has anybody here, if you've ever done a Master Distiller Select, or you've had a Master Distiller, help you select, or you've done a private select, I'd love to hear your feedback, or you've had one of these, where do you think they rack and stacked up against one another? We'll start from glass 2 then 1. Maybe a bit of that tobacco, but none of that honey. And then this one. It just tastes like it's dialed up and it has maybe a few more things to add, whatever this one is. So I'm going to rate them the same. And this is some biases coming out. I'm going to say that they're both a 4.0 and a 5.0 rating scale. They're both ones I would recommend to others. Asterisk as being bourbons in a specific category. This category that I'm referring to is one of like a type offering. So one that you would maybe pour in a cocktail, maybe one that you could drink neat as I'm doing now. But maybe you're not going to be wowed over. But they're really perfect, nice, evening sippers. And I really could be convinced that they're really actually 3.5s. But that would still define them as both good bourbons in my book. But I'm going to settle on 4 for each, and I think they're fine. I don't think they taste like one another. at all, whatever one reveals himself. But because I like the heartier option on glass one, I like some of the other flavors. While it doesn't have the same balance, this one has this really nice balance to it. It's more of that like category. It fits nicer into that bucket of that well type option that you might be able to enjoy, and you're not here to experience anything. You just want something really delicate and something to throw back, maybe a higher volume evening or something. So without further ado, that means glass one is taking home the gold, and we'll see what it is. Move this aside. The drum roll, please. Buffalo Trace Single Barrel Master Distiller Select. And this one is, obviously that leaves Buffalo Trace, right? Regular BT. Well, I called it, but it really wasn't a hard guess. I know this says 90 proof on it, 45% alcohol by volume, but it sure does not taste like that. Like I said, it tastes over 100 easy, probably under 110, but it tastes between 100 and 110. But I got to say, thumbs up to Harlan Wheatley and the team of Buffalo Trace. Either option, you can't go wrong. I'm happy to drink on either one of these things. I'd love to see, my shelf full of more maybe Master Distiller selections, obviously, as I just, found out here. But I'm also going to keep this on my shelf as much as I can as well. This is a great offering from them, and it is generally accessible, generally affordable, right? When you can find it on the market. It seems like even their flagship stuff is becoming harder and harder to get nowadays. But hopefully that changes in the future, and we'll see more consistent, amazing products from Buffalo Trace. But until then, I'll say cheers, and I'll go ahead and cap these off. Great balance, really great balance. A lot of vanillas, a lot of cinnamons, pretty simple profile, but it's just really heavy on both of those things in a super awesome, well-balanced way, directly at 90 proof. You're not missing that proof, and this is something that I can sip on this all evening. This is a really fantastic, just sipper. And then this one, it's like a different bourbon altogether. You get heartier flavors. You got the tobacco. You got a lot more oak. You get some caramel and marshmallow mix in there you didn't see on the first one. And you still have that same standard stuff. I'm seeing them together. But it's just got more going on. And I like when a bourbon's got more going on. So that's why I pulled the trigger and I said Master Distiller Select was just, a bit better. But really they're rated the same. So if you enjoyed it, go ahead, like the video, subscribe, check out my other channels, Facebook, YouTube, and see you next time.